What in the world did I hear in the Florida skies last night? Now, at first I thought this was fireworks, but apparently it wasn't because you'll also see what I think is lightning. What's even more interesting when it comes to this lightning, a couple of days ago, I had spoken about what was captured on Florida's weather radar on my other channel, Minutes of Horror. Look at what was captured on Florida's weather radar. You can see the frequencies just pounding this location, and then all of a sudden there's this massive explosion. This individual right here, Jamish1776, believes they captured whatever this was on camera.
Y'all, they selling unknown meat. Unknown. Unknown. What is that? They got a lot of it, y'all. Y'all be careful in America, man.
So some people are saying that this meat is gator. Now again, I'm from Florida, never seen this in any grocery stores. I guess you got to go to a specialty store. My thing is though, why wouldn't it just say gator meat on the package and not unknown meat? But talking about mystery meat, so it has come out that due to the record high grocery costs and supposedly the severe domestic cattle shortage, Donald Trump will be allowing a temporary import of up to 300,000 metric tons. I'm sure at the end of the day, it'll be 330,000 metric tons of foreign ground beef tariff-free over the next 90 days. But here's the problem. Nobody is telling the American public where this meat is coming from, leading people to believe that this is mystery meat.
On that beef deal, which countries did you make that deal with? What are the sources
which
of
deal?
The beef deal?
I don't want to say which countries, but there are a few countries, but they're going to be sending in the highest quality beef, and it's something that we need.
Now, it's very possible this meat could be coming from places like Canada, Mexico, Argentina, but at the end of the day, we still don't know 100%. There are a lot of people out there that believe it could be horse meat because it came out that the federal government is rounding up herds of horses and sending them to slaughter. But again, lots and lots of people are asking, what is this meat and where is it coming from? But here's the thing, this is nothing new. For years now, and I've spoken about this a couple times on my channels, we don't know the meat we're actually eating. Unless you know a local farmer very well, you don't know what's in that McDonald's that you're eating. Some people believe that Soylent Green is people. I did a video very recently where I spoke about how back in the 90s, there was an explosion of a prion disease called mad cow disease from people eating meat. But there's also another prion disease you can get from eating people called Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, which there was also an extreme spike around the same time, which mimics Kuru, but unlike Kuru, you can get Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease from eating any body part that's infected. Officials were saying they don't know how people are getting CJD, and as of today, it's still spiking. They just said it was randomly happening, a misfolded protein in the brain. Then you fall down the rabbit hole of how many cows are in the United States compared to all the restaurants and fast food chains out there, grocery stores selling meat, the number really doesn't add up. Then you get into human composting, which is legal in 14 states, but other countries are trying to make this legal as well.
Now, most of us don't like to think about what happens to us after death, but a new low-cost, eco-friendly alternative to burial could soon become available. A bill to legalise human composting is being introduced to state parliament.
We are running out of burial space, which is becoming increasingly expensive across New South Wales. And we also know that a number of people are concerned about the environmental impacts of cremation.
The member for Sydney hopes people will have access to the option as soon as 18 months from now. The bill will need to pass Parliament first.
The mystery meat could be rounded up horses, or it could be rounded up humans, human composting. At the end of the day, again, we don't know.
I'm going to give you a little background of what got me to this position to run this bill. Back in 2019, I heard that Washington State was starting to do human composting, and that disturbed me. I wanted to address this because what I didn't want to see is bags of compost with human bone fragments. I want to stop it getting into the human food supply.
The Rhode Island House has already passed a bill that would offer water cremation and human composting. There's two sides to this story, as you can imagine. These are end-of-life options. Instead of being rooted in flames during cremation, remains are placed in water and no greenhouse gases are released.
I want to remember Grandma in the kitchen making an apple pie. I don't want to be in the kitchen eating an apple pie wondering if Grandma is part of the apple pie.
Now, I don't know if Meemaw is in the apple pie, but that's the thing. We don't know. And that's the problem for years. We don't know. We've been eating something, but I just don't believe it's 100% cow or animal. But moving on, prior to this news story of this mystery meat and prior to food processing plants like Tyson shutting down, this woman, Lake to Henry, made this very interesting video last month.
So this is a video I felt necessary to share.
Hey y'all, I was delivering this week and got a heads up from someone at this chemical technology engineering plant I delivered to, and we got to talking, and she asked me to come into this room where we could talk more private. In this room was a bulletin board with some like 3-4 pages of different agendas. She was concerned because she knows that I'm a truck driver, and she knows that a lot of truck drivers do not get to have full meals, cook full meals, eat full meals, healthy meals, put it like that. On this agenda, she just put the paper down. She told me when I first walked in that I could not take any pictures of the building, I could not disclose location, all of this. But the gist of the conversation and the paperwork she was reading to me actually was disclosing the agenda for the next 3 years. They're closing down processing meat plants.
They just shut down Tyson Foods up there in like Illinois, one of those up there near the Canadian border. I don't remember exactly where, but they just closed their plant down.
Across America. They're closing down processing plants for like just grain and other type places. They are actually rebuilding America to a certain point where everything will be GMO, genetically modified food. There will not be any fresh market foods such as your meats and certain other commodities that will not be able to have some type of government approval stamp with chemical base. So we all heard about the biotech meat, which is the 3D printing.
Campbell Soup. They caught the CEO on a recorded message where he was talking smack about the chicken in the Campbell Soup is 3D printed meat and only poor people eat it.
We've all heard about a lot of the processed foods have been modified. Even the fruits and vegetables are seedless.
Those halos, oranges, the small oranges, the seedless grapes, and also the seedless watermelons.
And she urged urgently told me told me as a truck driver to stay away from seedless fruits and vegetables. This agenda is in black and white. In the next 3 years, they're going to be shutting down major hospitals in major national areas, metropolitan areas, such as general, infirmary, state, and county hospitals. So if you stay in a town or a city that has any one of those type hospitals in the next 3 years, this is documented in black and white now, I read it for myself, that they will be shutting these hospitals down slowly.
Her full video was on TikTok. I didn't want it to be too long, but I think her name is in the thing. Go back and look for yourself, but be mindful of when y'all in the supermarkets and y'all picking up food and y'all shopping and stuff, because they try and kill us off through the food. Okay.
Now, I don't know about them shutting the hospitals down, but when it comes to the food processing plants, we are starting to see this play out.
I'm on Oahu right now, and a few years ago, multiple people here witnessed a glowing blue object race across the sky and appear to enter the ocean. This wasn't just a random story circulating online. I mean, it prompted real 911 calls, a police response, an FAA check for possible downed aircrafts. It was legit. This was filmed near Nanakuli on Oahu's west side at around 8:26 at night. And it was not just seen by one person, it was seen by many.
Multiple witnesses report seeing a large blue object fall out of the sky and into the ocean.
So they were so convinced that something was happening that they got in their car and they followed it.
I don't know what it was. This one was going so fast.
Less than 3 miles later, near Farrington Highway, they said it appeared to drop into the ocean.
Or the one line in the water, whatever it is.
And then, while officers were there, a second light appeared. It was smaller, it was white, and it seemed to be coming from the same direction as the original blue one.
My husband looked up and he seen the white one come. The white one was smaller, was coming in the same direction as the blue one.
Here's where it gets interesting, though. The FAA said that it had no record of any aircraft accident in the area. No aircraft disappearing from radar, and nothing missing or overdue as far as plane reports go. So the footage alone obviously does not prove that it was non-human, but there's multiple witnesses, an apparent ocean entry, there's police involvement, a second light, and no confirmed aircraft explanation from the FAA. And all of that makes it one of Hawaii's most compelling unresolved cases for sure. But I'm going to ask you, what do you think this was? A lantern, a drone, some aircraft related, or something we still can't explain?
And then I was like, oh, started calling my husband then because we was all in the garage. I was like, hey, look up there. See what I see. They all said, yeah.
Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you were here and witness to this object, please chime in. I'd love to hear your point of view on this crazy event.
That video was by a great channel, Hallucination Hippies, and I wouldn't doubt one bit what these people are seeing are plasmoids. Some even out there observing these things in Hawaii have stated that they're plasma-like.
When did you realize all this is fake? That the world is a stage? I learned it in 2017 when I was at Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport flying out, and I saw a guy in first class, and his name is Jerry Sandusky. Now, if you remember, Jerry Sandusky was involved in a child abuse scandal in Penn State. So why did I realize that the world was a stage in 2017? Because he got sentenced and he went to prison in 2012. But yet he was on my flight in 2017. Everything is fake.
That video was by Enrich Talks, and I have to say my awakening was all the way back in 2001, Building 7.
The United States power grid is at risk of a major blackout that could last up to 18 months, according to a new report. Concerns are heightened as one U.S. city has been without power for more than a week. John Wellinghoff said the grid could be seriously disrupted if similar incidents targeted the 10 most important substations in the country's 3 sections. In Northwest Indiana, more than 75,000 customers were still in the dark Wednesday, and full restoration is not expected until August 25th.
Is it just me, or was the 18 months awfully specific? And I do wonder if the blackouts happening in places like Indiana, Arizona, and the such are some type of test run.
Police are searching for this masked man accused of terrorizing people in Philadelphia. This video shows one of the frightening encounters near City Hall last Wednesday, when investigators say a 40-year-old woman was jogging at around 5:30 a.m. when the man wearing what appears to be a creepy doll mask started chasing her.
Are you ready to die? He makes that statement twice. Then she proceeds to run away from him. She injures herself in the process, and she started screaming, and we believe that's what deterred the suspect.
The suspect eventually stopped chasing that woman. Investigators say at one point he implied he had a weapon, though no weapon was seen. This was one of at least 6 encounters police say happened within a span of a half hour that morning. Jamaica Wilson came face to face with the masked man.
I started to run across the street.
So he saw you?
He saw me starting to run.
Chase you.
And he started to chase me. So I figured it was smart to turn around and face him.
So you confront him?
I did.
Did you kick him?
I kicked him right in the middle of the chest.
They say it's not one person, but multiple people doing this for social media content. One of the alleged suspects they caught so far is 22-year-old Zamira Hughes.
You are not going to believe what just has been exposed about the movie The Matrix, which is going to completely blow. It was shocking to me. I can't believe this movie has been out this long, and I didn't know this. So, we've all seen the scene where the humans are in pods, and they have an artificial thing connected to their brain, and it's said that humans made AI, and then AI got out of control, and then humans blocked out the sun to try to stop the AI from going out of control. Then it realized, because it was getting its energy from the sun, that we can just get our energy from humans, right? But the crazy part is that was not in the original writing for it. Like, that was not in the original idea for the movie Matrix. They were never supposed to be batteries. They were supposed to be something very different. Listen to this. Well, it turns out the original concept and early script drafts were that human brains were meant to be used as a massive distributed neural network, like a data center. Because there wasn't enough data centers, they needed to use humans as data centers. But in 1999, they thought it would confuse general audiences, because what the hell's a data center in 1999? They decided to change it to that they're actually going to be batteries. So the studio requested a simpler, more visceral concept, leading to the humans as batteries explanation. But that wasn't the original, dude. They were supposed to be data centers because there was not enough data centers. It was running out of data. It needed more data, so it used humans' brains as the data centers. The CPUs, the human brain contains 86 billion neurons, offering processing capabilities that even modern supercomputers struggle to mimic. This is getting a little bit eerie. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and follow for more.
That video was by Shane Vibes, and there's definitely something to this, because what's come out is that there are companies now using human brain cells, human fluid, to power data centers.
Are doctors about to be replaced by AI? And why do I say that? Because a nurse took to social media to explain how doctors and nurses are now using AI to answer your medical questions and your medical needs. Have a listen to this for yourself.
AI is officially in healthcare. It's officially in the hospitals. Your newest doctors and your newest nurses are going to be some of the most reliant clinicians on AI that the world has ever seen before. We have entered this new age of AI in medicine.
So as you heard her explain, AI is already in the medical system. It's on both the nurse's side and the doctor's side. And the newest doctors that are coming out of med school are going to be the most reliant on AI technology. She recently had a visit with her own physician. Take a listen to how that went.
The most recent doctor's appointment I went to, the most recent I just saw, I got established with a new PCP. She asked me very similarly to Dr. Al-Hashimi in the pit if she could record our session using AI to get it transcribed in the chart. Okay. That was my first time hearing that relayed to me. I said, yes, fine. I'm not trying to fuck up the workflow here. And yeah, my note was generated through our conversation via AI, and it now is in the chart.
So you just heard for yourself her last visit to her physician. They started their conversation. The doctor stopped her and said, hey, can I record this with AI so that it can be used to go into your chart and create a record? So now what happens once you tell all of your secrets to AI and it goes into that chart? Who else has visibility of what's actually going on? Will that information be shared? I understand there's HIPAA, but AI can do whatever it wants to do. So my question to you is, do you find this extremely concerning to the fact that both nurses and doctors are speaking into artificial intelligence to discuss your medical issues and then using AI as a guideline to treat you? Let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comments. And as always, I'd love to hear from you.
That video was by the Jody69, and let's see, right, because we already have so many nightmare stories involving AI surveillance and police, people being wrongly accused of crimes they didn't commit, ending up in jail. So I'm going to roll the dice and say this is going to be a nightmare too when it comes to the healthcare field, especially insurance.
We got a new UFO video, this time over Spain. Take a look at that thing. It's one of those triangle UFOs that more than likely, just in my opinion, is some kind of man-made top secret flying object. Then again, it could be extraterrestrial, but I'll tell you why my opinion is that it's man-made. A lot of these triangle type objects with the 3 or 4 lights on them have been seen, not just here in the US or like this one in Spain. About 20 years ago, Belgium had a bunch of these sightings, seen by hundreds, if not thousands of people with videos and pictures. So in my opinion, that's nothing unique. And since then, there's been a lot of talk, not just on the internet, but in actual media, that this is some kind of advanced military object, something called like the TR-3B, a rumored, once again, advanced military vehicle that's basically been tested all over the world. But I want to know what you think. Could this be the rumored TR-3B advanced military vehicle? Or is it something else? Let me know in the comments section, Fushkis. Shabadoo!
That video was by the great Joe Giuseppe, and that's what I instantly thought of too upon seeing this, the black budget TR-3B. Wish they're probably way past that by now, but I do wonder in this next news story if these pilots also saw some type of government-made craft.
Oregon is getting national attention because it was seen and reported by multiple pilots tens of thousands of feet in the air.
Yeah, really bizarre. Our Spencer Schott has been looking into this extraterrestrial encounter. Spencer, what'd you find out?
Oh, Riel, Nora, pilots saw a weird light, and the video that we're about to show you doesn't really do it justice, but pilots describe seeing a bright red light that was moving incredibly fast. And while we don't know what it was, experts have been able to rule out a couple of the usual suspects.
Just had another one show up about my 1 o'clock, about 1,000 feet high, zipping towards us and then back out towards the ocean. It's red in color. Moving at extreme speeds.
That was Life Flight pilot Joe Bully talking with Air Traffic Control Saturday night as he was flying over Walden, Oregon. He was trying to figure out what he keeps seeing flying around his plane, and it turns out he wasn't the only one seeing this ball of light.
Is there any military activity out straight ahead of us?
No, we're not seeing anything. I had another one report at like 30,000 feet in the Eugene area. We're not sure what it is.
So it wasn't a military plane, but could it have been a drone?
The flight characteristics that the pilots were reporting in real time indicate that it was not a drone. They were seen to be traveling upwards of 60,000 feet, which is, there's no drone that we have that does that effectively. And
James Shubsky owns Margie's Outdoor Store, and he's been tracking UFO sightings in Oregon for years. And while this sighting still has a lot of people scratching their heads, Shubsky is encouraged that it's getting so much attention.
There's a great deal of stigma associated with reporting it. And I'm very encouraged to hear that the tower and the pilots are openly talking about them as UFOs.
Foxtrot, Roger. You are cleared to maneuver as necessary left and right to avoid the UFO out there.
Now, Life Flight said in a statement Friday, while the nature of this light remains unidentified, they are glad it didn't pose any safety risk to their aircraft or crews, and they don't want to speculate about the origin of this light.
Lighthouse keepers vanished into thin air, leaving their unfinished meals behind in what is now one of the most eerie unsolved mysteries to date. In December of 1900, a supply ship arrived at the Flannel Isles, which are a tiny, isolated group of islands off the coast of Scotland. And immediately upon arrival, something felt off. No one was waiting for them on the dock, the flag on the lighthouse hadn't been raised, and despite the ship's horn repeatedly sounding off, there was still no response. So the relief keeper climbed the steep path toward the lighthouse, expecting to find the 3 lightkeepers inside, but the lighthouse was completely empty. The 3 men that were supposed to be inside had disappeared. Now, it was clear from the interior of the lighthouse that their beds had been slept in, the men had recently cooked a meal in the kitchen, but their food was left half-eaten. One of the chairs was even knocked over onto the floor as if someone had stood up in a hurry, and the clocks inside the abandoned station had all mysteriously stopped. A search of the island would get them no closer to what happened either. Every inch of the cliffs was searched, but investigators still couldn't find any explanation. There were no bodies, no signs of a struggle, and no footprints leading away. The leading theory is that the men had possibly all been swept into the ocean by a massive wave while securing equipment. But these men were experienced at their jobs, and this would have been violating the strict safety rules that required at least 1 keeper to remain inside of the lighthouse at all times. It's been more than 125 years, and no one knows exactly what happened on that island.
That great video was by Oddities on Elm Street, and if you want to see a good movie based on the story of these men and this lighthouse, there's actually a really decent movie starring Robert Pattinson called The Lighthouse. But it's kind of eerie to know that this will always be a mystery stuck in history with no real explanations.
If an officer ever tells you that an animal stood up and walked away like a human, you might assume that he was suffering from exhaustion or fear or something that made him see something that was not there. But in this case, the officer's dash cam supposedly caught the whole thing. So, according to the story, this happened in northern Michigan in 2019. And I'm not going to name the county because I have no way of actually verifying the report. This was sent in to me. But the man who shared it, he claimed that his uncle worked as a sheriff's deputy there for nearly 20 years. And he was a pretty stand-up guy, very straightforward, no BS kind of guy. So shortly after 2 a.m, dispatch received 3 separate calls about an enormous injured dog lying beside a rural highway. The first caller thought it had been struck by a car, the second described it as a black bear, but the third caller insisted that it was a dog, just the largest one that he'd ever seen. And the nearest deputy was about 15 minutes away, which was our viewer's uncle. And when he arrived, the highway was completely empty. There were no other houses nearby, there's no streetlights on that road, and the woods on either side of him were so dense that his headlights barely reached beyond the tree line. And that's when he saw it. Something was dark lying in the ditch approximately 50 feet ahead of his patrol car. And from behind the windshield, it looked like an unusually large dog with coarse black fur. And its back was facing the road, and one of its hind legs appeared to be pretty badly injured. The deputy radioed dispatch and asked him if they can contact animal control, although he doubted they probably wouldn't respond at that hour. So he positioned his vehicle with the headlights illuminating the ditch. And then he stepped outside carrying his flashlight, and as soon as his door opened, the animal lifted its head. And the deputy immediately noticed something was wrong with its proportions. Its front legs seemed much longer than they should have been. Its shoulders were unusually wide. Even while lying down, he was able to tell. It looked larger than a deer. So he called out to it softly with a few whistles and a few clicks, hoping that it might be someone's injured pet. The animal didn't growl, it didn't bark, it simply just turned its head and looked directly at him. The deputy later claimed its eyes reflected the flashlight, but not like a normal animal's eyes, right? Instead of shining that greenish yellow, they appeared to be pale and almost colorless. He stopped walking, and that was when the animal began to move. At first, he tried pulling itself farther into the ditch using its front legs. The deputy could hear its heavy breathing, and he assumed that its back legs were probably broken. So he lowered his flashlight and took another cautious step forward. Then the animal planted both front paws against the ground, and its body, he said, was trembling as it was trying to push itself upward. And the deputy thought that it was trying to stand on all fours, but it wasn't. The creature straightened its back, lifted its front legs away from the ground, and slowly stood upright on 2 legs. And according to the dashcam timestamp, it remained in that position for approximately 4 to 6 seconds. And it was long enough for the headlights to reveal that whatever was standing beside the highway was over 6 feet tall. The deputy immediately froze and his flashlight remained pointed directly at it the whole time. The animal's injured leg, which had looked useless only seconds earlier, now supported its full massive weight, and its front limbs hung near its sides, and its paws seemed to curl like inward, almost like hands, and then it took one awkward step backward, and then another. The deputy drew his weapon and shouted for it to stay where it was, and he later admitted he didn't know why he said that, but training most likely took over, and for one terrifying moment his mind stopped treating it like an animal and he started treating it like something else, because it was moving like a person. And the creature turned toward the woods, dropped back down onto all fours, and crossed the ditch with no sign of injury or anything, and within seconds it disappeared between the trees. So the deputy returned back to his vehicle and he called for backup. 2 additional officers arrived, and together they searched the edge of the woods, and they reportedly found several deep impressions in the mud, but none were clear enough to identify as like paw prints or anything like that. They also found something else near the place where the creature had been lying, a patch of like deep dark fur that was soaked in blood, but there was no body. The official report allegedly described the animal as a large, unidentified canine, and the deputy's dash cam footage was collected with the rest of the evidence, and he was instructed not to discuss what he thought he had actually seen and leave it as that. So a few days later, someone from the department showed him the recording of it, and the video was very dark and very grainy, but the animal could be seen in the headlights. More importantly, the footage showed it rising from the ditch and standing on 2 legs, exactly how he had seen it. The audio also captured something that the deputy claimed he did not notice that night, and it basically caught an EVP. Just before the creature entered the woods, a low voice could be heard somewhere near the patrol car saying, "Just leave." That was all it said. It just said leave, and it was very clear. So the deputy reportedly remained with the department for another 2 years before resigning early. He never publicly claimed that he had encountered a werewolf or a dogman or anything supernatural like that. He would only say that it wasn't a bear and it wasn't a dog, and he knew what he saw. But the original dashcam recording was never surfaced publicly, at least not in a form that can be authenticated. So maybe this is simply, an exaggerated police story that grew, stranger and stranger with every retelling. But the man who shared it claimed his uncle still refuses to drive that patch of highway at night. And whenever anyone asks, what truly happened beside the road that night, he always pretty much gives the same answer. He just says, "It wasn't injured when I found it, and it was pretending to be." And he truly feels that it was pretending to be this helpless, injured animal to lure him in, to get him close enough to do whatever. So, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you're from Michigan or northern Michigan and you've heard of other stories like this, let me know.
That video was by Grim History. He's a really good channel with some great stories. This almost sounds like a Dogman encounter, but also hearing this story reminds me of that news story that happened not that long ago, where a woman was attacked by a dog-like creature, where authorities and investigators say they've never seen anything like this in their lives. No known animal that they know of could produce such an attack, which led a lot of people to believe that this woman may have been attacked by a dogman. And even though the police, the sheriff say they've never seen anything like this before, even suggesting it could have been a mountain lion or a bear, results came back that it was just a domestic dog attack.
Y'all, this is exactly why you don't try to contact the dead. A group of friends were together hanging out and they decided to use a Ouija board. Not a lot happened with it, so they continued their little party together and they took some photos. Now, it just so happens the person they were trying to contact was a friend that had passed away in a car accident. But in one of the photos they took, they captured something that wasn't that friend. Standing behind the woman who owns the Ouija board is a figure. It has a very long neck. There's no defining part of the head. It looks like it's in a long black cloak, and there's an appendage coming out of the cloak with really long, lanky fingers. Now, they either invited something in with the Ouija board or didn't close out the Ouija board correctly, because this thing definitely came from that. And what it is, I'm not sure. But I would recommend getting rid of the Ouija board, because it's going to be really hard to get rid of that thing in your house. What do you guys think this is? Let me know.
That video was by Chelsea Woe. Now, I don't know if whatever that is the direct result of the Ouija board, but I've said time and time again, people think of Ouija boards as just toys, nothing more than just a material item, but people really do put their energies into this specific item, which in return, with your energy focused like that, whether it's a Ouija board or something else, it really opens all kinds of doors and gateways.